You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton here, hanging out with you guys. Actually, first thing in the morning here, getting ready for the upcoming week that I know a lot of us are going to be racing into to get our business going, whether it's spring for some of you guys and you're already doing those spring cleanups, or some of you guys are still plowing that snow and making that dough, which is basically our case back up in Michigan. We've been getting pounded with 2-inch, 3-inch snowstorms every other day. But you know what? We're not complaining because that's what pays the bills. What I wanted to do is talk to you guys for a few minutes, in my opinion, on 3 different lawn care setups that seem to be the most popular when talking about lawnmowers, or more specifically, what's the best lawnmower setup? And this is based off just some feedback, some data, and some observations that I've had over the years with not only my setup, but watching you guys grow your setups. And the reason I wanted to do this topic is we're going to do a little 1-2 here. I wanted to talk about the best mower setups that you can rock going into the upcoming season, but then I also wanted to double back and piggyback on that topic with the best trailer setup, open versus enclosed, and pros and cons, reasons why for each. Those are actually 2 of the most common questions that I get this time of year is, what's the best mower setup? And then after that, what's the best trailer setup? So that's what I want to do. I want to take the next 2 weeks that, to be honest with you, our major buying decision weeks and months for a lot of you guys, whether you're upgrading mowers, you're downgrading your setup, you're upgrading your setup, buying new trailers, buying new enclosed trailers. I just want to give you guys as much information that I have, just a little brain dump between this week's episode and next week's episode about helping you guys make the best purchase so that you guys can go out there to cut that grass and make that cash. So let's do this really quick. You guys know that we have some great show affiliates, some great show sponsors, and always some great show announcements. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer, to bring you guys all the latest and greatest, and then we're going to come right on back.
Somebody's voice sounds a little ragged out from the Hype House in Tampa. I don't know if Brian partied too much, has a cold, or just wore it out from all the talking. My goodness, those folks love to talk. So much good content from the event can be found on the Brian's Lawn Maintenance channel on YouTube and, of course, in future episodes of the podcast. Now, if you check out some of the other podcasts in the industry, there's a good chance you're going to hear Brian and his wife Liz on those shows. And I even understand their good friend Caleb Allman is soon launching a podcast. Exciting times. We're just all trying to help each other grow in our profession, make more money, and ultimately just better provide for our families. And that brings me to today's sponsor, the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Guys, this really is the superstore for industry training and resources. This time of the year, we begin to see an influx of first-time listeners as so many are getting into the business. And if you're serious, listen up now. If you are serious about growing a successful lawn and landscaping company, invest in your future. Invest in yourself by visiting LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. And of course, we'll put an easy link right there in the podcast description.
All right, good deal, guys. Well, hey, let's just jump right back into it. And if you guys can't hear a little bit of background noise, I do apologize. It's actually the last day here of the Green Industry Hype House, the first ever Paul Jameson's brainchild here down in Tampa, Florida. So some of these folks are still kind of buttoning things up this morning and wrapping things up. Your boy packed his bags last night, so he did not have to or do the runaround this morning, but just having some fun. Everybody here has just had a great time. It's been a blast. But I want to make sure that I'm accountable to you guys too, with making sure I get this episode out to you guys here first thing Monday morning as we all go into the regular work week. And for some of you guys down in Florida, I've come to realize y'all never stop working, which is awesome. So here's what I want to talk to you guys about that I see are the most common lawnmower setups. And we're going to kind of break each one down for the who, the what, the why, okay? So number one is when you're having smaller lawnmowers. Let's talk about 36s and 48s. And whether that's one mower that's a 36 or 2 mowers that's a 36, that's a very typical or common setup that I've noticed. And that's going to be pretty predominant in the smaller home market with, Florida's a great example of that in certain areas. A lot of gated backyards, a lot of postage stamp lawns. There's no way that you guys would get a 60-inch mower in some of these neck of the woods. back at home where I live, just about 25 minutes south and east of me, it turned into all gated backyards. Everybody's got a fenced-in property. You might get 4 passes with that big dog zero-turn mower up front, but you're not going to be able to do anything with that big mower in the back. So the first setup I like to talk about is one that I see probably about, let's say 20% of folks go with, and that is the double small mower setup or the single mower setup. Going from there is usually all the way to the other end of the spectrum, right? And that is having 2 zero-turn mowers or just a large zero-turn mower. So maybe you got a 60-inch mower. I don't really vouch too much for 72s, although they are great units. It just gets to the point where you lose a little maneuverability sometimes when you're going around residential homes and subdivision properties. That now, if you can't fit that big 72 in between, a certain area, now you got to go back and trim more, or your trimmer guy has to trim more. So you kind of lose a little bit of productivity. But the caveat for a 72 is if you got wide open properties, rock 72s. That extra 10 or 12 inches per pass can just be a life changer, a game changer with productivity. I know it doesn't sound like a lot because it's only an extra, 12 inches. But when you take that over 3, 4, 5, 10 acres, you could be shaving minutes, you could be shaving tens of minutes, and we all know that all adds up, right? So the other end of the spectrum is having that zero-turn mower, that 60-inch lawnmower that is very, very popular, very, very it's a successful setup. And then when you double up on that, you might have 2 of those zero-turn mowers. And the reason is because most of your properties are wide open. And here's what I like to say is that if over 80% of your properties are wide open and you don't have gates, my attitude is double down on the non-gated properties. Okay, that's what I was just saying. Double down on the non-gated properties. It's easier to market and get more customers that don't have gates than to try to get another mower that you have on your trailer that you're only using for 2, 5, or 10 properties, right? So those are the 2 spectrums. We got the double small mowers, or single small mower. We got the double large mowers or the single large lawnmower. And then in the middle is where I feel a lot of folks are. I don't know the percentage, maybe another 60, 75% of y'all are kind of in this middle setup. And here's really what I wanted to talk about, which was the best lawnmower setup, for example. And this is what I'm noticing from YouTube, from talking to you guys, and just my own personal experience is most folks have a 60-inch zero-turn lawnmower. And then somewhere along the way, they have a 36 or a 32 or a 38 or a 42 type of lawnmower for those gated backyards. So let's talk about the evolution of that setup. You got the zero-turn mower for the front. You get the smaller mower for the back. And when you're just getting started in business, a lot of you guys are, brand new. You're in business for maybe this is your first season. Maybe you're listening right now and you're about to buy your first lawnmower, right? Or you've been in business for a year and you're just getting your feet wet. These are the kind of questions that I field all day long. It's not, hey, how do I, take my company from $500,000 to $1 million? 90% of the questions I get are, hey, what's the best first lawnmower to get? So I really want to show you guys some love today on this episode. And that's where I wanted to start. So if you're getting started in business and you have that hodgepodge of customers, and frankly, our customer base back at home is probably 80% wide open, 20% gated, where I live specifically. A great start to your setup is 2 options. One, you can get that 36-inch lawnmower, and that 36 is going to be able to tackle not only the front yard, but that gated backyard. And then over time, the year after or 2 years later, you can upgrade to get that 60-inch lawnmower. And now you have that small gated backyard. You're productive and you don't have to push mow. You don't have to walk it. And then you also have that 60-inch lawnmower for the front, or anytime you pick up those large properties that don't have gates. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. But most of the time, I would encourage people to start with a 36-inch standard lawnmower. That way you can guarantee get that back and you can still mow the front. Because here's why. The alternative is, let's say in this perfect setup, which is a small mower and a big mower, if you just start off with that big mower, you're maybe not going to be able to get that thing in the backyard. And so you're going to be limited with the amount of customers you can take on. And in the beginning, let's be honest, you need to take on as much as you can to a degree. We don't want to be taking like cheap prices and having raggedy customers like Paul Jameson says. But at the same point, we do want to take on as much work as we can. We got to pay the bills. I'm all about, chunking and blocking and having your ideal target customer and avatar. But in the beginning, realistically, you got to survive. You got to just take on what you can and prune customers year over year. Hey, I didn't really like that one. I didn't like those folks. They weren't very profitable. They were always having me do extra things. We'll prune those as you go. But in the beginning, when you're marketing, you want to be able to take on as much work as you can. And that 36 is going to open doors for you because you can do front yards, you can do backyards. And so that's where I normally see the equipment evolution for a lot of folks in the industry. I mean, look on YouTube. You see all the biggest guys on YouTube, all the folks that have content out there, big or small companies, big or small channels. You usually see on their lawn care setup a 60-inch lawnmower, and you see a 36-inch lawnmower, or you see a 60-inch lawnmower and a Pushmo 21 or Pushmo 30, right? Like a commercial 30 from Toro or Exmark, something like that, right? So, and here's why. If you get that big 60-inch mower right off the gate, you might not be able to do those gated backyards, and you might be a little limited. You might be a little bottlenecked, right? So here's what I will tell you to do. Take a look at your clientele, take a look at your area, and take a look at your target customer, your customer avatar. Where are you trying to market? Where are you trying to get business? What's their lawn look like? Do you guys have a lot of gated backyards? Where we're at right here down in Tampa, Florida, we're on this beautiful island. I don't think a single zero-turn mower would fit on this entire island. I haven't even seen any parks. I haven't seen any large property. So over here, it would be great to have some 21 and some 30-inch push mowers, maybe a standard for some of the properties, but you got to be able to still maintain these properties with minimal footprints. And so that's where we're going to go to. Well, let's have two of them. Let's rock and roll two mowers. You can get two or three of those little mowers on a trailer. You can get two or three 36-inch stand-ons. You can get a couple push mows. You're ready to rock and roll. That's the double small setup. But I will say this, let's go full circle. You go into the Midwest, and there's tons of you guys over in the Plain States and Missouri to Tennessee, Virginia. I mean, there's a ton of you guys out there that have just wide open property, and y'all don't have the subdivisions, right, that we typically talk about. A lot of you guys see the subdivision, and you're like, man, we don't even have subdivisions. Everything here is 2 to 5 acres, 2 to 10 acres, and that's fine. Get a zero-turn lawnmower, get that 60-inch mower, and maybe eventually as you continue to grow your business, double up, get a second one, get a backup one. It doesn't have to be brand new, but let's get two of those zero-turn mowers rocking. And that way, one of you guys do the front yard, one of you guys do the backyard, one of y'all is trims, one of y'all edges and blows, and you can still double up on your productivity, your efficiency as your business continues to grow. And you're rocking the double big dog zero-turn mower setup, right? But here's what I'll say, just to go full circle, not to beat a dead horse. The most common setup that I see is guys getting that 60-inch mower with that 36 or that 30 or that 21-inch push mower for those gated backyards. Here's what I'll tell you. If you have that kind of a setup and you are getting started, get started with that 36-inch mower and then add that 60 as soon as you can. If you can get some good financing and you guys can get some 0%, and you don't mind taking on a little bit of a good debt, as we call it, and you want to rock out, with a 36-inch standard and a 60-inch zero-turn, it's going to set you back $20,000, but that setup will literally last you the next 5 years. And I don't think you can really go wrong with that kind of a setup. And that's going to allow you to take on that church that has 5 and 10 acres. It's going to allow you to, take on those properties that have the gated backyards, and it's going to allow you to take on those properties that are wide open. So that's kind of like the most optimal premium setup. Here's one thing I'll say is that some of you guys were always asking about like getting a 30 or getting a 36, right? And what do I think about push mowing? And I love push mowing, but I absolutely despise it in business because it's going to exhaust you. And here's what I'll say. It's going to exhaust you when you're, it's 2:00 in the afternoon and you took on those two properties that have, gated backyards. The sun's beating. You're already kind of getting a little tired, a little fatigued. You only got 2 or 4 properties left, but you let's say you have 4 properties left and you're coming up to your 2 gated backyard ones and then your 2 non-gated backyard ones. And the last 2, they're easy to do, man. It's 20 minutes, boom, boom, in and out. You and your guys, you're happy. But then you have this momentum stealer, right? And you come up to your 2 gated backyards and you get that 21-inch push mower, self-propelled or not, right? And you're adjusting, the wheel height, and you're going from 3 to 3.5 or 4 because everybody likes their backyard to be a little bit taller, right? And it's just a momentum suck. And typically you're not getting that premium for those push mow backyards, right? So if it's a $35 or a $45 weekly cut, typically people aren't getting that premium. And we always encourage, charge an extra $5, charge an extra $10. If you're using a different mower, if it's taking more time, someone's got to be paying for that, right? We don't want to get nickeled and dimed, even by little things like this. But for me personally, it's more of a mentality thing. It's more of a thought process thing. It's more of a, man, like we were almost done, and now we're what did they say? We're slower than molasses in January. It's just like slow moving syrup. That's what it always felt like with my gated backyards, because we had about 5 or 7 of them 4 years ago, just 3 or 4 years ago. And I was looking at my route and I said, I hate push mowing. We had a good little 32 or 36-inch Metro push mower, walk behind, I should say commercial mowers, an Exmark. But it was gear driven. It had the pistol grips. It was, it was one that it was like, I bought it off of somebody who bought it off of somebody who bought it off of somebody. I think when we looked it up at Weingart's, the serial number had like 8 owners on it. There's something ridiculous like that. But it was a little champ. It was a little tank. Those things, you can buy them all over the place, man. People, those things will run forever. But I just remember, it was my Thursday route, and we had 2 gated backyards. And this is my exact story. I don't make these stories out. We had 2 gated backyards back to back, and then the way we would leave the subdivision, we had 2 more at the entrance. And when we would get to those last 2 at 3:00, I was like, man, I would do anything to not mow these lawns. And it just made me resentful and bitter, like to the customer almost, which was just weird. But it took us twice as long to do the property because we had these, push mow backyards. Now, again, to go full circle, some of you guys can't avoid that. That's your customer route. That's your customer base. That's the type of lawns you guys do. And that's awesome. Where it makes it more fun and more enjoyable, or less miserable, whatever way you want to look at it, is when you have proper equipment. And so if I would have had a 36-inch stand-on or a 30 stand-on or 32 stand-on, I would have probably had no problem doing some of those backyards. So that's why I would encourage people, get that 36-inch stand-on in the beginning. And if you can upgrade to a 60 for those front yards, that's the perfect setup to me. So I would just say it's not so much the productivity and the performance. It was always like the mental that I don't know if a lot of people really talk about or factor in. And I don't know, maybe I'm just whiny and fussy, but I'll tell you what, maybe you guys can relate. You're like almost done, and then you come up to your gated backyard properties and you're like, oh, what am I doing here? I don't want to do these. Well, if you have the opportunity to just ditch those 4 or 5 customers out of your 50, or 5 or 10 of them out of your 100. For me, I just realized, wait a minute, I know how to market. I've got 2,000 postcards sitting in my truck or sitting in my trailer that aren't being used. I can go pass out more postcards and a couple yard signs and put a couple Facebook messages out and say, hey, I'm now accepting new customers. Folks, I'm telling you what, when I dropped those gated backyards for me in my example, and I know not everybody can do that, and we just went to running the big 0-turn mower. I sold off that push mower, or that 32 or 36-inch walk behind unit. We just went to the 0-turn. We told all of our future customers that would call, hey, I'm sorry, we don't do any gated backyards. We just want to start there. Do you have a gated backyard? No, I don't. Oh, perfect. Now we can take on all these new customers. My happiness went up 10% that year. And we were able to, market and, expand and get new customers and replace those 5 or 7 customers. So that's one thing I'll tell you, is that if you have less than, I don't have an exact number for you, but 5 or 10% of your customer base is gated backyards, and you're fiddling with this other, mower that's $8-9 grand, and it's sitting around 90% of the time, realistically, and you're only logging 2 to 5 hours on it per week, then maybe just consider getting rid of those small gated backyards. So that's what I'll say. The single 36-inch or 32-inch stand-on mower, getting one of those, maybe doubling up, you're going to crush those small gated properties and small properties that you guys might have down here in Florida or 20 minutes southeast of where I live. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum. You got nothing but wide open properties, wide open subdivisions. I would say 52s are fine. I had a 52 versus a 60. I did not like the productivity of my 52 versus my 60 when I had a stand-on unit. I just was like, I thought it'd be more nimble. But for me personally, I just went straight 60. But again, look at your clients, look at your yards, see what makes sense out there. Maybe 52 is the right answer for you guys, or 48. So the other end of the spectrum, get the 0-turn mower, get 2 0-turn mowers. Just cut that grass, make that cash in blaze grass. That's all you got to do. It's wide open, right? But I know a lot of you guys are in that middle setup, and that is you want that 0-turn and that stand on 32, stand on 36, and that's going to be allowing you to take on a little bit of everybody, right? You can take on the big church, you can take on the big shopping centers, you can take on the small gated backyards, you can take on the big front yard, with the small gated backyard. You can take on the cul-de-sac with the tiny front and the big fenced-in back pool area that you need that 36. And it's kind of the best of both worlds. But where do you start in that middle setup? Start with that 36 and then get that 60. That's what I would encourage you guys to do. That way, you can always put that 36 on the front and back, but you can't take a 60 in the back. You can only do the front. And then you're going to be stuck push mowing and buying that little $500 Toro from Home Depot, and you're going to be hating life. It doesn't stink in April, May, June, right? It stinks push mowing in July and August when it's 100 degrees. Well, that's in Michigan, some of you guys in Texas, Missouri, Florida, and shout out to all of you guys that listen from all those different places, right? Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to kind of button this thing up here, but listen to this. Next week's episode is what I also want to talk to you guys about, and that's kind of the 1-2 punch. I want to talk to you guys about all things I know about open versus enclosed trailers. That question actually came up while we were doing the live stream here. I think it was on B&B's live stream, and it was a really, really good question that we were able to talk about, which was open versus enclosed. And so we hammered that one out for about 15 to 20 minutes. We answered a bunch of questions about the benefits with Mitchell Gordy talking about his enclosed trailer and B&B talking about how we got started with a utility trailer. Well, I got started the same way. I had a utility trailer. We've grown to an enclosed trailer. There's pros and cons to both. And so I want to make sure that we talk about those at length before you guys run out there and drop $2,000 to $3,000 on a utility or $7,000 to $10,000 on an enclosed. Just things to think about. I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, but if you're just getting started, I got a better suggestion, the best suggestion I can for you. If you've been around for a little bit and you're rocking utilities, I'm going to make some maybe good selling points about why to get an enclosed. No skin in the game for me, but I just want to give you guys the lay of the land in case you guys are thinking about making those upgrades this upcoming spring in 2021, right? So that'll be a fun, exciting 1-2 punch. And then check this out. This is the show that we got for this week that you guys are listening to right now. The open versus enclosed trailer conversation is going to be next week's podcast. And then before you know it, we're going to get right back into the regular show. We're coming back. We're ready to rock and roll. We're charged up. We're going to come back Monday, Wednesday, Friday for you guys without fail. Marty, Mr. Producer's kicking it on the 1s and 2s. He already knows that we're about to ramp this thing up. He's excited. And so all these episodes that we were able to record here at the first ever Green Industry Hype House brought to you guys by LMN, all those episodes that we were able to record are going to be dropping that first part of March. So if you guys want to stay tuned for over the next few weeks, and as you guys are throwing the earbuds back in and we're getting out there to cut that grass, make that cash, do the spring cleanups, and wrap up some of our snow plowing. We've got the folks like the Spencers. We've got the Almonds. We've got Paul Jameson. We've got Josh Sutton. We've got Andy Mulder. We got Mitchell Gordy, B&B Lawn Care. So many great people. Those are the folks that are all coming up in March to give you guys amped up, motivated to make 2021 your best spring and your best year ever. All right. So that's the grandiose promise I'm hoping to deliver. You guys know I'm an under promise, over deliver type. So I'm hoping that you guys really enjoy these episodes over the next 2 to 4 weeks. I think you guys are really going to look forward to them. So let's do this. Let's button it up right here. Let's kick it back over to Marty in the ATL to bring you guys all the show announcements and updates. And we'll catch up with you guys here on the next one.
Looking to get new customers, including commercial clients? LawEntrepreneurAcademy.com has you covered. Looking to learn the best new strategies for postcard marketing? We've got that covered too. Get instant access to 6 videos showing how to get new residential and commercial customers with yard signs, postcards, social media marketing, Facebook ads, Google My Business listings, and so much more. These 6 videos are designed to help you expand with the best tactics and strategies to secure new customers and grow your business. The How to Get New Customers training program will get your phone to ringing. Hello? Visit LawEntrepreneurAcademy.com and pick it up today.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.